There are moments in history when human beings lifted their eyes to the heavens and realized that the sky was more than a collection of distant lights. It was a language, a map, a teacher, a silent companion that whispered secrets to those patient enough to listen. And among the greatest listeners, the greatest interpreters of this cosmic language were the ancient civilizations of Africa. They did not merely admire the stars, they understood them. They read them like scripture, studied them like science, and spoke to them with a reverence that came from thousands of years of observation, reflection, and wisdom. Today we revisit that truth, not to glorify the past, but to remind every one of us that greatness runs through the veins of a people who once read the universe like an open book. When Africans spoke the stars, the world learned to see the sky in a different light. There was a time when the night sky meant survival. It told farmers when the rain was coming. It guided travelers across deserts and oceans. It shaped calendars long before paper existed. But for African civilizations, the stars meant something deeper. They were a vocabulary of identity, memory, and destiny. In places like Nubia, Mali, Kemet, Ethiopia, and among the Dogon of West Africa, people looked upward and saw a cosmic library. They believed that understanding the heavens meant understanding themselves, and so they studied the sky with the dedication of scholars and the curiosity of explorers. They built structures aligned with celestial bodies, tracked the movement of planets with precision rivaling modern instruments, and created myths that wrapped the universe in meaning. Their brilliance wasn't accidental, it was intentional, methodical, and disciplined. Imagine standing in ancient Kemet as the sun rises perfectly between two towering structures built not with machines but with human hands and astronomical accuracy. Imagine watching priests, astronomers, and scholars gather at dawn studying the horizon to determine the exact moment when a star would reappear after months of absence. Their work was not guesswork, it was science. It was observation passed down through generations. It was knowledge shared through teaching, memory, tradition, and communal responsibility. These people understood that the universe was not random. It was patterned, ordered, rhythmic. And because they understood the rhythm of the universe, they were able to build civilizations that lasted for thousands of years. At the heart of their wisdom was a simple belief: the sky is a teacher. And like any great teacher, it rewards those who pay attention. Africans paid attention. They noticed how one star's disappearance signaled the flooding of a great river. They noticed how constellations moved differently with the seasons. They observed how the moon influenced tides, crops, and human behavior. They created calendars that were more accurate than those used in Europe for centuries. They used mathematics to predict planetary movements long before telescopes were invented. They understood that to know the heavens was to know the earth, and to know the earth was to understand how to thrive within it. But this story is not just about ancient astronomy. It is about human potential. It is about the power of curiosity, the courage to question, and the discipline to learn. The people who spoke the stars were not superhuman. They were not born with knowledge. They earned it. They observed, they failed, they tried again. They documented in memory what others would later write in books. And through this process, they discovered truths that the modern world still struggles to fully understand. Their lives teach us something that is easy to forget today. Your mind is capable of far more than you think. Your ability to learn, grow, and reach higher is not defined by your circumstances, your location, or your past. It is defined by your willingness to look upward, to stretch beyond what seems ordinary, and to seek meaning in places others overlook. Think about the Dogon people of Mali, who passed down detailed knowledge of stars invisible to the naked eye. They knew about the orbit of Sirius, its companion star, and its density facts that modern astronomy confirmed only with advanced telescopes. Their knowledge came not from machines but from generations of observation, storytelling, and intellectual discipline. This is what it means to inherit a legacy of brilliance. This is what it means to come from a people who did not fear complexity. They welcomed the unknown because they understood that the unknown was simply knowledge waiting to be discovered. The sky taught Africans to think beyond the present moment, to anticipate, to prepare, to adapt. That is why their civilizations endured droughts, floods, invasions, and political upheavals. They were students of the universe, and the universe rewards those who study it sincerely. This same truth applies to our lives today. Each of us has a sky above us, opportunities waiting to be recognized, patterns waiting to be understood, truths waiting to be revealed, but only those who pay attention can benefit from them. When you ignore the sky, you miss the sun, but when you study it, when you listen carefully, suddenly everything starts to make sense. Our ancestors did not just look at stars, they found direction in them. They allowed the night sky to guide their decisions. They used it as a compass when traveling across deserts and forests. They used it as a calendar when planting and harvesting. They used it as a clock when managing their time. And beyond the practical, they used it as inspiration. They created stories that reminded their children that the universe is vast, but human beings have a place within. They taught that greatness is not found in wealth or status, but in understanding your role in the grand design of existence. There is something powerful about knowing that the same stars your ancestors studied still shine above you today. The same constellations that guided ancient travelers can guide your journey. The same cosmic rhythms that shaped civilizations can shape your destiny if you allow them to. You may not be an astronomer, but you have dreams that require direction. You may not be a scientist, but you have challenges that require strategy. You may not be a historian, but you carry a legacy that deserves to be honored. And the greatest way to honor that legacy is to live with the same curiosity, courage, and discipline that defined those who spoke the stars. Every one of us has a sky to interpret. For some, the stars represent opportunities, moments that appear only once in a lifetime. For others, the stars represent challenges, events that force us to grow, adapt, and mature. For many, the stars represent potential, untapped abilities waiting to be realized. The ancient Africans understood something we often forget. The future is not something you wait for. It is something you prepare for. They did not wait for destiny to fall into their hands. They studied it. They anticipated it. They shaped it. And when the world looks back at their achievements, it sees a people who refused to be passive. They were active participants in their own story. This speech is not just about the past. It is about the possibility within you right now. If a civilization without advanced tools could read the universe, what could you accomplish with the opportunities, knowledge, and technology you have today? If they could build monuments aligned with stars, what could you build if you aligned your life with purpose? If they could understand cosmic patterns solely through observation and discipline, what could you understand if you dedicated yourself fully to learning and growth? You come from a lineage of thinkers, builders, innovators, and dreamers, people who trusted their mind, people who embraced complexity, people who believed that knowledge was not a privilege but a responsibility, and that same responsibility rests on your shoulders today. You cannot allow yourself to walk blindly through life. You cannot afford to ignore the signs around you. You cannot waste your potential by settling for comfort when greatness requires effort. The sky is still speaking. The question is, are you listening? When Africans spoke the stars, they spoke hope into existence. They spoke direction into their journey. They spoke identity into their children. And today, you have the power to do the same. Speak possibility over your life. Speak discipline into your daily habits. Speak determination into your dreams. Speak resilience into your challenges. Because the universe responds to those who do not give up on themselves. Let the stars remind you that no darkness lasts forever. Let the sky remind you that every night has a purpose. Let the wisdom of ancient civilizations remind you that you are capable of extraordinary things when you choose to rise above fear, doubt, and limitation. If the people of the past could shape their destiny by studying the sky, then surely you can shape your destiny by studying your own life. Look up. Pay attention, learn the patterns, trust your brilliance, remember who you come from. And when the world asks how you knew you would rise, you can simply say, I listened, I learned, I looked to the sky just as my ancestors once did. Ancient African civilizations understood the night sky in a way that goes far beyond what most people imagine today. To them, the heavens were not simply a decoration or a background to life, they were a living library. A vast archive of meaning that revealed itself only to those who paid attention. When they looked upward, they did not just see stars scattered across a dark canvas. They saw patterns that repeated with precision, movements that aligned with seasons, and rhythms that guided every aspect of their existence. They believed the universe was not silent. It was speaking, and every star was a word, every constellation a sentence, every cosmic cycle a chapter in a story larger than any one lifetime. The sky became an open book, and they became its readers. These civilizations did not rely on technology or instruments to understand the cosmos. They relied on disciplined observation, patience, and a curiosity so deep that it pushed them to spend years tracking how the heavens shifted. Their nights were classrooms, their elders were living archives, and their traditions were the tools they used to pass knowledge forward. They knew that if a star disappeared from the sky at a certain time of year, it meant rainfall was near. If a constellation rose earlier than expected, it was a signal that seasonal winds would change direction. They recognized that the sky was connected to the earth, and by reading the heavens they could manage their crops, protect their people, guide travelers, and prepare entire communities for the year ahead. For the people of ancient Kemet, the reappearance of the star Sirius was more than an astronomical event, it was a signal of life. Its rising predicted the flooding of the Nile, the river that sustained millions. By watching the sky, they learned to prepare for the flood, plant at the right moment, and ensure their survival. For the Dogon people of Mali, the stars were more than tools, they were teachers. They memorized the orbits of celestial bodies that would not be confirmed by modern telescopes until thousands of years later. They believed that understanding the stars was a way to understand themselves, and so they passed down their knowledge through generations with precision and care. This cosmic awareness influenced every corner of their societies. It shaped leadership because rulers were expected to understand the rhythms of the universe to make wise decisions. It shaped community planning because villages and temples were built to align with celestial events. It shaped agricultural systems because planting and harvesting followed the language of the sky. It shaped spiritual beliefs not in a religious sense, but in an ethical one, teaching people to respect cycles, honor balance, and recognize that life moves in patterns just like the night sky. The universe became a symbol of order, reminding people that chaos could be conquered when knowledge was used wisely. Even navigation across deserts and open waters depended on this cosmic language. Travelers could cross thousands of miles with no map, guided only by the stars. The heavens became their compass, always reliable, always constant. They trusted that if they understood the sky, they could never be lost. And that trust came not from blind hope, but from generations of learning, studying, and observing. Their relationship with the cosmos was intimate, almost conversational. They did not fear the unknown, they embraced it, because they knew that the unknown was simply the not yet understood. Their mastery of astronomy reminds us that technology alone does not create brilliance. What creates brilliance is the human mind, the ability to ask questions, to seek answers, to observe carefully, and to connect the dots that others overlook. These ancient scholars did not wait for knowledge to be handed to them. They chased it through the desert nights, traced it along temple walls, repeated it in songs and stories, and carried it in memory. Their civilizations flourished because they believed knowledge was a responsibility, not a luxury. They understood that to guide a people, one must first understand the forces that guide the world. This perspective gives us a powerful lesson today. You do not need advanced tools to unlock your potential. You do not need perfect circumstances to discover greatness within yourself. What you need is the same mindset that fueled those ancient astronomers: curiosity to explore the unknown, discipline to keep learning, patience to understand patterns, and courage to rely on your own intellect. The sky taught them that everything has a season, that every challenge has a cycle, that every darkness ends with light. And those lessons are just as relevant to us now as they were thousands of years ago. When we look at the stars today, most of us see distance. But for ancient Africans, the stars represented direction. They represented hope, purpose, clarity, and guidance. They were a reminder that life is bigger than the present moment and that understanding comes to those who keep their eyes open. They believed that wisdom was written across the heavens, waiting to be discovered. And by unlocking that wisdom, they built societies that have influenced the world long after their time on Earth ended. Their story teaches us that your environment does not limit you. Your circumstances do not define you. Your potential is not measured by the tools in your hand, but by the hunger in your mind. If they could read the sky with nothing but dedication and intelligence, then you have no excuse to settle for less than your best. You have the ability to learn, grow, lead, and the question is whether you will choose to embrace that responsibility or let it pass you by. Ancient Africans used the stars to understand the world, but their true genius was understanding themselves. They recognized that knowledge is power, that observation reveals truth, and that discipline creates mastery. And when you look at your own life through this lens, you begin to see that your challenges are not obstacles, they are patterns you must read. Your setbacks are not failures, they are lessons waiting to be understood. Your dreams are not fantasies, they are destinations waiting for direction. The sky they studied still hangs above you today, unchanged and waiting. It speaks the same language it spoke to them. It offers the same guidance. It holds the same wisdom. Their brilliance was not ancient. It is timeless. And that means the same greatness lives in you now. You simply need to lift your eyes, open your mind, and choose to listen to the lessons written across the universe. The ability of ancient Africans to read the stars reflects a mindset that humanity desperately needs to reclaim today. A mindset built on awareness. They did not move through life blindly or allow the world to pass them by unnoticed. They trained their minds to observe details that others ignored. They studied every shift in the sky, every change in the season, every rhythm in nature. Nothing was random to them. Nothing was insignificant. They believed that life always leaves clues, and those who succeed are the ones who learn how to recognize those clues before everyone else. Awareness was their greatest tool, and that tool helped them build societies, predict environmental changes, organize calendars, guide travelers, and prepare their people for whatever was coming next. Their power didn't come from technology, it came from disciplined attention. Today we live in a world where distraction is everywhere. Screens constantly flash, notifications demand attention, noise fills all the quiet spaces, and people have become disconnected from their own instincts. Many struggle to focus on one thing for more than a few moments. But awareness, true awareness, requires patience. It requires interest. It requires the willingness to step back, look around, and understand what is happening beneath the surface. Ancient Africans developed that skill because they lived by intention. They watched the world with eyes that sought meaning, not entertainment. They listened for patterns instead of waiting for someone else to tell them what to think. And because they trained themselves to be aware, they could see possibility long before others even recognized a change. Imagine how powerful it is for a society to simply pay attention. When you pay attention, you make better decisions because you are seeing clearly. When you pay attention, you avoid danger because you notice the warning signs early. When you pay attention, you spot opportunities that most people walk right past. The ancient astronomers of Africa trained their minds not only for the sky but for life. They understood that the person who is present, truly present, has an advantage over the person who is mentally scattered. They used their awareness to build maps, calendars, philosophies, and scientific observations. They took lessons from the universe itself, seeing relationships between earthly events and celestial movement. That kind of thinking is not accidental. It is the result of years of disciplined observation. This keynote teaches us that awareness is not just a skill. It is a lifestyle. It is a choice you make every single day. Even now, opportunities and warnings surround you. There are signals in your routine, signs in your relationships, patterns in your finances, clues in your emotions. But if you race through life without slowing down, you miss all the information that could help you grow, strengthen, or transform your direction. Your life is constantly trying to teach you something, but lessons are only revealed to those who are conscious enough to notice them. Just like the ancient Africans who learned to read the stars without a single book, you can learn to read your own life if you choose awareness over distraction. The strength of those civilizations came from their ability to see the world as interconnected. They recognized that a change in the sky reflected a change on Earth. They understood that patterns repeat themselves, and if you study them long enough, you can predict what's coming. This mindset applies just as strongly to personal growth. Your habits repeat themselves. Your emotions repeat themselves. Your setbacks repeat themselves. And if you notice the patterns early, you can make changes before they become problems. Many lives fall apart not because a person is weak, but because they ignored the signs. They ignored the tension building, ignored the unhealthy routine, ignored the emotional red flags, ignored the opportunities for improvement. Ancient Africans thrived because they never ignored signs. They treated every detail as a piece of a larger message. Awareness also builds confidence. When you understand what is happening around you, uncertainty loses its power. You are no longer intimidated by challenges because you can see them from a wider perspective. You are no longer overwhelmed by the unknown because you train yourself to interpret signals that others dismiss. Confidence does not come from luck. It comes from understanding, and understanding comes from awareness. This is why the astronomers, philosophers, and builders of ancient Africa walked with such certainty. They trusted their minds. They trusted their ability to observe. They trusted the discipline they had built over years of paying attention. You can build that same inner strength when you decide to slow down, listen, watch, and learn from everything happening around you. In your own life, awareness can guide your finances, relationships, goals, and decisions. You can prevent mistakes by seeing danger early. You can accelerate progress by recognizing opportunities quickly. You can strengthen relationships by noticing shifts in tone, attitude, or behavior. You can transform your future by paying attention to what your actions are producing. Awareness turns you into a strategist instead of a reactor. It shifts your life from chaos to purpose. It sharpens your perception so deeply that you begin to see solutions where others see problems. You begin to see paths where others see walls. You begin to see potential where others see nothing at all. Ancient Africans did not wait to be told what to do. They discovered answers by observing the universe itself. They showed that clarity is available to anyone willing to look beyond the noise. This keynote reminds us that the same mental discipline that once guided civilizations can still guide us today. The sky may not be your classroom, but life. And if you reclaim the power of awareness, if you train your mind to observe before reacting, to think before moving, to study before deciding, you will unlock a level of intelligence and strength that already exists inside you. The greatness of those who spoke the stars is not lost. It is waiting, ready to rise again in anyone who chooses to live with intention, focus, and awareness. The cosmic vocabulary of ancient African societies teaches a powerful truth about human potential, reminding us that while knowledge can be inherited, greatness is always built through action, effort, and the willingness to rise beyond what is familiar. Those civilizations studied the stars not because they were trying to appear wise, but because they understood that direction is meaningless without movement. The constellations gave them guidance, but they still had to choose to walk the path, build the cities, observe the heavens night after night, and pass down truths through disciplined generations. Their mastery of the cosmos did not happen overnight. It came from thousands of years of consistent curiosity, patience, and responsibility. In every generation, new interpreters were trained, not chosen by privilege, but shaped through commitment. These were people who looked at the sky and refused to see only darkness. They saw messages, patterns, and purpose, and the most important lesson their story gives to us today is that each of us is born into a universe filled with meaning, but only those who look deeper discover that meaning. Too many people believe that potential alone is enough, but potential without pursuit dissolves into regret. The sky did not bend down to teach ancient Africans. They stretched upward to understand it, showing us that knowledge is not found by waiting, it is found by seeking. Their achievements challenge us to stop treating greatness like a gift and start treating it like a responsibility. You have inherited information, yes, but what you do with it determines your legacy. The people who read the stars did not simply inherit wisdom, they added to it, refined it, and expanded it. They believed that every generation must leave the world wiser than they found it. Their legacy encourages you to stop waiting for inspiration and start building your own understanding, to stop hoping for perfect conditions and start creating progress within the conditions you have. They remind you that growth happens through active participation in life, not passive observation. It is easy to admire the achievements of those who came before you, But admiration is not the same as action. The ancients did not just admire the sky, they worked with it, learned from it, aligned their lives with it. In that same way, you must align your purpose with action, your dreams with discipline, and your ideas with effort. Their story pushes you to develop your own vision, because without vision, you are simply moving through life without direction. Vision gives meaning to movement. Vision is the internal compass that turns confusion into clarity and hesitation into confidence. Ancient astronomers had vision. They saw beyond what others could see because they trained their minds to search for patterns where others saw nothing. You too must train yourself to look deeper into your circumstances and find opportunity where others see limits. They also challenge you to master your own landscape. Mastery does not mean controlling everything. It means understanding your environment so well that you can navigate its challenges with wisdom rather than fear. Africans mastered deserts, rivers, seasons, and the movement of the sky. You must master your habits, your emotions, your time, your learning. You must study your own life with the same attention they gave to the stars. Those who came before you were not afraid of complexity. They embraced it. They did not shrink from difficult knowledge. They pursued. This spirit of fearless understanding is something you must cultivate if you want to create a future that reflects your highest potential. Their legacy also teaches that greatness is never selfish. True knowledge is meant to be shared, passed on, and expanded. The ancient interpreters of the heavens became creators of knowledge for those who came after them. They did not hoard wisdom, they multiplied it. And you must do the same. Every skill you develop, every lesson you learn, every obstacle you overcome, becomes part of a story that can guide someone else. You are not just living for yourself, you are shaping the world for those who will come after. You may not be reading the stars, but you are reading your experiences, your struggles, your failures, your growth. And everything you learn can become a map for someone else if you choose to share it. This keynote calls you to become a creator of meaning, a contributor to knowledge, a builder of wisdom. It calls you to push beyond comfort and into purpose. It calls you to rise above limitations, not because life is easy, but because you carry the same potential for greatness that guided those ancient civilizations. Their journey shows that destiny is not written in the sky, it is written by those who dare to interpret the sky. Your life too demands interpretation. Your purpose demands action. Your future demands courage. And just as the stars were not silent to the ancients, life is not silent to you. It is speaking, guiding, and waiting for you to answer with effort, intention, and belief.